Welcome, everyone. Today, I wanted to get into a little bit of the basic nephron anatomy. And you might start off by asking, what even is a nephron? And to understand that, first we'll have to look at a kidney. So, as you can see, this image here is a cross section of a kidney. And if we were to slice a kidney in half, and this is what the inside may look like. And if we were to zoom in on a portion like this, like I've drawn the box around, then we'd see many small functional units of a kidney. And these functional units are called nephrons. Okay? So, the nephrons start off with a structure like this. Okay? And then they extend downward like so. And come back up like that. And then dump into a larger structure. Like that. Okay, I'm not an artist here, but this is enough to get the point across. So, we're looking at a nephron. And there is a network of blood vessels that enters this first part of the nephron, circles around before leaving. And the blood flows in this direction. And yeah, this is an example of a functional unit of the kidney, which is known as the nephron. So, you may ask, what are the different parts of a nephron? What is the function of a nephron? And the function of a nephron is to help the kidney filter out the bloodstream, filter out toxic aspects of the blood, such as urea, and also regulate the blood volume and blood pressure, among a lot of other functions. The kidneys are vital for our survival. And the blood is brought into a nephron through this vessel, which is called an afferent arteriole. And after going through this network of looping blood vessels, which we call the glomerulus, the blood leaves through what's called the efferent arteriole. And all the while, the blood is being swished around in there, inside this part, which is called the Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule, with high pressure. And while it's being swished around, there are certain elements leaving the blood to create a filtrate. This filtrate then enters this nephron and moves through it. The first part, after entering the Bowman's capsule, that the filtrate enters is called the proximal convoluted tubule. And then, as the filtrate goes down through this loop is what's called the loop of Henle. And this loop of Henle has a descending limb and an ascending limb on the other side. And as the filtrate exits the blood, much of it is getting reabsorbed throughout these different aspects of the kidney, throughout the nephron. And there's blood vessels that run all around this part, and some around the loop of Henle, and around this part. And throughout this whole process, the filtrate is being reabsorbed into the bloodstream. Actually, 95 to 99% of the filtrate gets reabsorbed back into the bloodstream, because it contains a lot of vital elements, such as amino acids and glucose and whatnot. But there's also toxic parts of the blood, like urea, which must be excreted. Anyways, if we keep going with our story of filtrate movement, it then enters what's called the distal convoluted tubule. And this happens before the filtrate dumps into what's called the collecting duct. Now, it's important to keep in mind that many different distal convoluted tubules dump into this collecting duct. It's shared by many different distal convoluted tubules. And this collecting duct eventually, after going through a few structures, dumps into the renal pelvis, which then dumps into the ureter, which then dumps into the bladder, and then eventually the urine is excreted from the body after going through a few more structures. And this is the basic anatomy of a nephron here. So we've talked about the afferent arteriole, the efferent arteriole, the glomerulus, and the Bowman's capsule, which these four together make up what we know as a glomerulus. Or sorry, not glomerulus. A renal corpuscle. And the rest of these different aspects make up what we call the tubule portion of the nephron. And this, folks, is on a basic level how blood gets filtered out in the kidneys, functional units, and how that filtrate moves through the system and gets excreted as urine. Now keep in mind that most of this filtrate is reabsorbed back into the bloodstream because it contains elements that are crucial to sustain life and elements that are crucial to regulate things like blood volume and blood pressure. However, I'll get into those details in future lectures and exactly how that filtration happens at a more cellular level. But anyways, I hope you guys learned something and thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe.